the June 26, 2025 regular board meeting of the Downers Grove Park District. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bender? Mr. Dahlstrom?
Here.
Ms. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Lunt?
Here.
Ms. Welch?
Here.
Agenda item number A3, recognition of commissioners requesting to participate remotely. Commissioners Bender and Commissioner Dahlstrom are absent due to work-related obligations and in accordance with the Open Meetings Act and district policy have requested to participate remotely, as this constitutes as a qualifying reason for remote attendance and a physical quorum is present. A motion to approve Commissioner Bender's and Commissioner Dahlstrom's remote participation would be in order. Commissioners, can I get a motion, please?
Motion to
Allow remote access.
allow remote access. Thank you.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Lunt?
Yes.
Mr. Bender? Mr. Dahlstrom?
This time is traditional. Would you please rise and face the flag for our pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you mind remain standing? Unfortunately, we've lost two members of the Downers Grove Park District family recently, Pete Wilt and Dante Fields. At this time, I would like a moment of silence to recognize our family members that we've lost. Thank you. You may be seated. Item number A5, Mr. McAdam, any changes to the agenda?
We have none.
Thank you, sir. Item number A6, public comment. Do we have anybody wishing to make public comment? Please step up to the podium.
Thank you.
If you would like, you can state your name for the record.
Yes, thank you. My name is Laura Hoyt, and I thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I have two topics to address this evening, and I understand the time limit is 5 minutes per speaker. However, I've requested to have 5 minutes per topic as they are important, and I've noticed the board in advance of both of these issues that I'm addressing tonight. First, I was one of 3 residents named in the Chicago Sun-Times article about the free speech zones in Downers Grove. Those were placed in various parks, I think 8 or more of them in Downers Grove. And the one that I first noticed was Fishel Park, a 15 by 15 foot square on the corner on Grove Street with a placard indicating this was a free speech zone and a sign, a QR code indicating how to review the ordinance. At that time, I was a candidate for DuPage County Board, and I had arrived really early to a concert event on a Tuesday night, one of the summer concerts, and wished to simply introduce myself to people and tell them about my platform. I didn't have any materials with me at all, but I saw the free speech zone and I inquired about it. I asked who the manager of the event was, and the manager told me that I was not permitted to introduce myself as a candidate and to walk among unless I was standing in this free speech zone. To which I politely objected and said, well, that's unconstitutional. That is not allowed in a public park. Public park is a public forum, and it's well-established federal law and Supreme Court law that people should be allowed to speak freely in public parks. And that was my only purpose. There was no safety issue or other issue related to that, but I did not that night mingle with the folks as I had wished to do. A couple other residents and I notified a local attorney who put us in touch with FIRE, which is the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. And the village in Downers Grove Park, this park district, were notified that by FIRE that the free speech zones violate the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. The government cannot simply by declaring that a free speech zone no longer exists, convert a traditional public forum to a non-public forum. People are allowed to speak to each other and say what's on their mind. Parks, therefore, are public forums, and they have been for years and years. Recently, the last few months, the free speech zone signs were taken down and replaced in public parks, which I was encouraged by that because I thought perhaps the exchange between the Park District Attorney, Mr. Price, and Fire was accomplishing some much needed relief for those of us that are objecting to these zones. But the general use ordinance still bans First Amendment activities in parks during park events. And I understand it's been updated for consideration tonight. It's on the action item. And my main request is, since me and the lawyers that I'm working with are reviewing the proposed changes to the ordinance and we haven't had sufficient time, I would ask that the matter be tabled for further discussion and allow us to provide input on those proposed changes, which I have reviewed, and I'm prepared to highlight some of the thoughts that I have. The ordinance authorizes staff and the village to end attempted First Amendment activities at certain locations, citing unique characteristics or concerns for safety, none of which most I've experienced in the parks in Downers Grove. And it imposes advanced permit requirements for public assembly of more than 15 individuals. So on March 10th, this district, through its attorney, responded to Fire and said that in order for the Park District to achieve its mission, it can limit or prevent First Amendment activities, which Fire and I do not agree. We believe this board, this public body, which represents everyone in Downers Grove Park District, cannot impose content-based limitations on free speech. There is no way to justify it. The Park District Board does not have the authority to restrict American citizens' constitutional rights to speak freely without restriction in public parks. So further letters and emails were exchanged between the lawyers, including myself, and revisions at first glance, when I saw the agenda, looked like a positive change. But on further review, I have to say that the restrictions actually are no better or might even make it worse without the existence of free speech zone placards and signs in the parks. How are people supposed to know that their free speech is being restricted? And most of the changes, unfortunately, give no notice to patrons of what is prohibited and allow way too much discretion to Park District officials and police. I urge the board to table this agenda item until we have a chance to provide input, as I said. I have cited in my comments, just briefly, 5 sections of the ordinance 1324 that give example, and I will give you some examples of why this gives no notice to patrons of how they could violate the free speech policy that they don't even know about, incidentally. How would they know unless they go to the website and read it, or somebody like me that understands what's going on? No person shall unreasonably interfere with any organized recreational activities. That is very vague and broad. What does that mean? If you have a specific rule, such as no alcohol can be brought into the parks, that's understandable. If you have a rule that says you can walk your dog, but you have to pick up the dog, that's understandable. But saying no person shall unreasonably interfere with could lend to a lot of different interpretations. And there's a lot of conflict going on in the world today where you've got people thinking differently about protests and other activities. No person shall persist in disturbing the peace, inflict injury or tend to incite an immediate breach of the peace, prevent immediate peaceful or orderly conduct after having been clearly informed that that person is in fact unreasonably causing such disturbance. Well, what did that person do? It could be a matter of a Park District staff saying things one way and having incredible discretion to say, we don't like what you're doing, you got to get out of this park. You see, so this is the very definition of a heckler's veto, which is consistently found illegal by the federal courts. And of course, I'm on Downers Grove Park District side. I don't want the Park District to be sued over this. I don't want the Park District to have liability over this issue, which has been made quite public in the Sun-Times article recently. It's, the ordinance provisions do not adequately inform the patrons. Another example, collect with other persons in crowds of 2 or more persons for unlawful purposes or for any purpose or disturbance or obstruction of the lawful activities of other persons on district property. What does that mean? For any purpose or disturbance or obstruction of the lawful activities of other persons. What did that person do that's causing them? It's so vague and overbroad, and it criminalizes speech potentially. If a park district employee overhears something that I say and they think it's wrong because they don't agree with me, you see, I'm in trouble. I'm going to be potentially charged by the police, and I don't understand why. The first definition in First Amendment activities in the ordinance is hard to understand. It says people cannot help the public know what is or is not permitted in the park system. Engaging in acts of auditory and visual expression, or distributing leaflets, handbills, printed materials, or gathering or associating for those purposes. You see, it's so vague, I don't even know what I did. What person would understand, based on this language?
No, I
What they can and
appreciate,
cannot
so we
do.
covered the First Amendment. Just to let you know, we're now at the 8-minute and 36 seconds.
Oh my gosh, okay, so let
Have
me
you
say,
gone over what you needed to go over the First
I
Amendment?
didn't realize that. I thank you for being my timekeeper.
That's fine. So
Okay.
we have another
So I'm
topic?
going to provide, if I could conclude, is that all right,
That's fine.
Mr. Lund? Okay.
That's fine.
I will provide this in writing. Too much information perhaps, but there's one additional item from June 7th, the Pride Fest had sponsorship by the Downers Grove Park District, and we didn't understand how that could be with the Park District being a nonpartisan entity. But we did a FOIA request and got a response back that the EQDG, Equality Downers Grove, which put on Pride Fest in all official park, was charged $0 for a park fee and was not required to place a security deposit. So it's my understanding that park fees are usually around between $400 and $600, depending on where the applicant is located, and a $100 deposit is required. So I would say that appears to be an inappropriate political contribution made by the park district. I hope that's not the case, but that's what we see. So again, I thank you for allowing me to speak on the topic of free speech zones. Next topic. Can I start it?
Is this a third topic? Because we talked about EG, was that part of the,
That was part of the free speech zone.
Free speech,
because
okay.
it was
Oh, yeah,
the official park.
okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Next topic is the man I saw in the women's locker room at this facility on March 18th. No, I'm sorry, March 22 of this year. I was at Saturday class, and a 6-foot man was 3 lockers away from me in the locker room. I had finished a class, was preparing to take a shower. I know that the board has received my letter, so I won't go into detail about it, except to say that I asked this very important question. Does the park district have a policy allowing boys or men to enter girls' or women's private spaces? Nothing on the website speaks to this. It's not in the conduct ordinance, and the public, and certainly I did not know that men would be allowed to walk into our women's locker room. So the lawyer Price's response was that our goal, the park district's goal, is to have patrons all have a great experience every time, to minimize friction among various users that have different values, that the park district is mandated by the Illinois Human Rights Act to allow trans persons to enter gender-specific facilities. The exemption under the act does not apply because the Illinois Human Rights Department has not adopted it, and instead favors not burdening persons who identify differently than their biological sex at birth. I certainly was a person that had no idea that this would be allowed. Staff has been trained to help persons who may be uncomfortable at the facility to utilize alternate options. So I was essentially told to go to a non-gender place. If I was uncomfortable with the man in the locker room, I needed to go elsewhere. Unbelievable. Or to ask a staff person to go assess the situation, potentially to go into the locker room, find the man in it, and deal with the situation. In this facility, there is no other place to take a shower besides the showers upstairs because the downstairs showers are closed. So that is a real problem for me. And the fact of the matter is I'm being discriminated against. I am a female by sex. I have a right to use the women's locker room, yet the Park District is telling me I have to go elsewhere if there's a man there. Law was cited, not just the Human Rights Act, but the Hobby Lobby decision of 2021, affirming that gender identity is a protected characteristic in Illinois, and a 20 case Comeric District, transgender boy couldn't use the boys' bathroom. All right, so that was then, and this is now. We've got President Trump executive order saying there are two sexes, male and female. There's changed guidance on gender affirming care. Basically, it's no longer being allowed on Trump's executive order. Just last week, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of the Tennessee bill banning gender affirming surgeries, and transgender identity, according to that Supreme Court case, is no longer a suspect class under the Equal Rights 14th Amendment. So, equal protection of the 14th Amendment. So, liberal justices have argued that trans women are women, but that is not the truth. Trans women are men. So, I'm strongly asking the Downsville Park District to serve all of its constituents to get on board with the changes that are occurring federally and nationally and state by state, based on the man and women's locker room incident of March 22nd and your lawyer's response to me, which was unacceptable. Downsville Park District is discriminating against me for treating me differently than other women who use the locker room, and is violating and diminishing my right to have access and utilize the only shower room facility here at 4500 Fitness. Under the Equal Protection Clause, the Illinois Human Rights Act does exist, and it is law, but it's crime to be declared unconstitutional, and it's going to happen. The Illinois Human Rights Commission's position that it's not going to respect the exemption for private spaces is also going to be overturned. It's just a matter of time. So I urge you to reconsider your position about Park District policies and respect my right to privately use the taxpayer-funded locker room facility freely and without discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're
As
welcome.
you pointed out, our legal counsel, Mary Price from Ansel Blank, is in the building tonight.
Yes, we just met. Thank you.
Thank you. So I appreciate it. Any other public comments? Please feel free to approach the podium and if you have anything else to say. Nothing further. Anybody online?
No online visitors.
Okay. Item number A6 is now closed. Item number A7, proclamation, July is Park and Recreation Month. Bear with me, I'll read the proclamation. Designated of July as Park and Recreation Month, whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Downers Grove, Illinois, and whereas parks and recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical, mental health of people who live near parks, and whereas parks and recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance as well as alleviating illness such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas parks and recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designated to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education. And whereas Park and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, environmental education are critical to childhood and development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases in community economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of local tax base, increased tourism, and attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas Parks and Recreation is essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure ecological beauty and our community and provide place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas Downers Grove recognizes and benefits derived from Parks and Recreation resources. Now therefore be resolved by the Board of Park Commissioners of the Downers Grove Park District that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in our village. So get out there and enjoy the parks, that's for sure. B1, recognition of guests. Mr. McAdam, do we have any visitors?
We do. We have a scout presentation.
A scout presentation. We like scout presentations. You're a life scout? Congratulations on your Roll the Eagle.
Thank you for having me. My name is Jason Lipa. I represent my Eagle Scout project. What am I doing is they are wheelchair accessible raised garden beds. So they can pass around. They're pretty much just garden bed. There's a section at Lyman Woods that have a pretty decent gardening center. A lot of these, some of them are raised for people who might not be able to get all the way down, but there are none for people who might be handicapped and cannot fully roll their wheelchair underneath the garden beds. Building these allows them to, experience nature in an inclusive way and not strain themselves in any sort of.
And did your Eagle Scout project get approved by the council or your local Eagle Scout committee at the troop level?
Yes.
Good for you, congratulations. Is you already budget for the materials and everything and?
I have not yet. We are still kind of like working out on a final design.
Okay. So this will allow handicapped individuals or those that are less mobile in our community to enjoy the gardening, and it's like a really good project. Good for you. How'd you come up with this?
At Lyman Woods, they have a list of stuff of like extra projects, but I noticed some just people in our community could use extra help.
And what's the time frame on this?
I'd like to get it done by the end of summer.
By the end of the summer?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments?
You're not gonna plant anything, you're just building the structure?
Correct.
Really impressive.
Yeah.
Looks like you've got what, the Aero Light, and you went to Philmont?
Yes.
How long have you been in scouting for?
I'm 17, so I've been in it since Cub Scouts, so.
Good for you. Congratulations. Looks like a great project. Good luck to you.
Commissioner Ludd is leaving very shortly for Philmont.
Yes, I'll be. Yes. So congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done. We'll see it.
Item number C, Mr. McAdam, the consent agenda.
Thank you. Tonight on the consent agenda for your consideration is approval of minutes, May 15, 2025, regular and closed session minutes, and June 5th, 2025, park tour minutes, treasurer's report, investments, the payment of bills in the amount of $2,508,161.02. Approval of the memorandum of understanding with the Downers Grove Historical Society. Payout number 1, which is a partial payment to KD Landscape, Sterling Davis Playground Renovation 2025. And payout number 1, which is a final payment for Play Power LT Farmington, Sterling and Davis Playground Equipment.
Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as read into the record by the board secretary?
Motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner
I
Walsh.
second.
Second, we have a motion and second discussion. Commissioner Bender, Commissioner Dahlstrom, any comments, concerns? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Yeah.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Mr. Lund?
Aye. D1, action items.
First one is consideration of proposals, Cisco phone migration to Cisco WebEx Cloud. If you have any questions other than what's in your pack, Chris would be happy to answer those.
Commissioners, any comments, concerns, reference action item number D1, consideration proposal for the Cisco phone migration to the Cisco WebEx Cloud. Commissioners? Can I have a motion to approve action item number D1?
Motion to approve action item D1.
Second. There is a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Mr. Lund?
Aye. Action item number D2, approval of conducts in the park ordinance 1324. Mr. McAdam.
The park ordinance is in your pack. If you have any questions, staff would be happy.
Commissioners, any consideration, Mr. Price, any other comments or anything? Nope. Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the conducts in the park ordinance 1324?
Motion to approve the conducts in the park ordinance 1324.
Second.
There is a motion and a second discussion. Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Mr. Lund?
Aye. Action item number D3, approval of ordinance 1339, annexation to Downers Grove Park District property known as 3900 Finley Road, Downers Grove.
Again, the information's in your pack. This is typically the park district when the village annexes new property that is not in the park district. The park district follows the village in that annexation process.
Commissioners, any comments, concerns? Commissioner Dahlstrom, Commissioner Bender? Hearing none, can I please have a motion to approval of ordinance 1339, annexation to Downers Grove Park District property known as 3900 Finley Road in Downers Grove, Illinois.
Motion to approve the ordinance 1339.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Mr. Lund?
Aye. Action item number D4, approval of the Lyman Woods Master Plan proposal. It's kind of an exciting one. Mr. McCann.
Yes. Staff is recommending the board authorize the executive director to enter into an agreement with GZA Geo-Environmental Incorporated for the Lyman Woods Master Plan for a total contracted value of $39,998. This contract reflects board discussion and interviews of various firms. The price here also reflects expanding the scope from that original conversation to allow them to do spring monitoring and some spring work as well, since we missed that.
Thank you, Ms. McCann. Commissioners, you've had an opportunity to review the proposal in our board pack. Is there any comments or concerns? No. Commissioner Dahlstrom, Commissioner Bender? Hearing none, may I please have a motion to approval of the Lyman Woods Master Plan as read into the record by Mr. McAdam and proposed by staff.
Motion for the Lyman Woods Master Plan proposal.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Mr. Lund?
Aye. Action item D5, consideration of bids, rec center and Lincoln Center flooring.
Thank you. Staff is recommending a different recommendation that was originally in your pack. This new information has come to light to the staff between the board pack present or proposal putting together and tonight. So actually, the staff has two recommendations. The first is to reject the bid as submitted by Trent Carpet and Tile as a non-responsible bidder and authorize the executive director to enter into a contract with NPN Flooring for the Recreation Center and Lincoln Center flooring replacement project for a total base bid amount of $73,231.49. Additionally, staff recommends authorizing the executive director to approve change orders up to $5,000 for unforeseen conditions to ensure the project remains on schedule and within the scope.
Understood. Commissioners, do you have any comments, concerns regarding this issue? Commissioner Walsh?
No.
Commissioner Bender, do you have any comments or concerns? Commissioner Dahlstrom, any comments, concerns, sir? Hearing none. So may I please get a motion consideration of bids for the rec center and Lincoln Center flooring?
Motion to approve the bids for the rec center and Lincoln Center floor.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Walsh? Aye. Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Mr. Lund?
Aye. God bless you. That's not an agenda.
Thank you.
Item number D6, consideration of bids, Prince Pond and Fischel Park Playground Reservation 2025.
Staff is recommending the board reject the bid submitted by D&J Landscape Incorporated as non-responsive and the bid submitted by GLI Services Inc. as a non-responsive bidder and authorize the executive director to enter into a contract with Hacienda Landscape Incorporated for the Prince Pond Official Park Playground renovations 2025 for a total contract amount of $488,600.
Commissioners, we've again had this opportunity to review this in our packet. Any considerations, any concerns at all? Commissioners that are participating remotely, do you have any concerns or? Okay, hearing none. If I can have a motion for item number D6 on the agenda, consideration of bids, Prince Pond and Fischel Park Playground Reservation 2025.
Motion to approve the consideration of bids for Prince Pond and Fischel Park.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh? Aye. Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Mr. Lund?
Aye. Action item D7, consideration of proposal artificial turf grass safety surfacing at Prince Pond and Fischel Park.
Staff is recommending the board authorize the executive director to enter into an agreement with Forever Lawn Chicago LLC to supply and install artificial turf grass safety surfacing at Prince Pond Official Park and conduct fall height testing at both locations, including Sourcewell cooperative purchasing pricing for a total contract amount of $133,599.37.
Commissioners, again, we've had the opportunity to review this. Are there any concerns, comments regarding this action item? Commissioners remotely, do you have any comments, concerns, reference to D7? Hearing none, can we get a motion for the consideration proposal artificial turf grass safety surfacing at Prince Pond and Fischel Park?
Motion to approve the artificial turf grass safety surfacing and installation at Prince Pond and Fischel Park.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh? Aye. Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Mr. Lund?
Aye. Action item D8, consideration of bids district-wide asphalt paving 2025. Commissioners, this is an ongoing yearly project that we do district-wide. Mr. McAdam?
Staff is recommending the board authorize the executive director to enter into a contract with Chicagoland Paving Contractors Inc. for the district-wide asphalt paving 2025 project, including the lump sum base bid and alternate one for a total contract amount of $64,500.
Commissioners, are there any comments, concerns, reference to D8 on the agenda? Hearing none, can I please have a motion for item number D8, consideration of bids, district-wide asphalt paving 2025?
Motion for item D8 to approve D8 consideration of bids district-wide asphalt paving 2025.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh? Aye. Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Mr. Lund?
Aye. Action item D9, approval of resolution 25-03-A, resolution to allocate funds for outdoor fitness court at McClellan Park. Again, I think there's been good contact between, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, between the board and members of the board and staff regarding this issue.
There's a considerable discussion about it. We'll have further discussion in July. This is just for the grant to allow us to sign up for the grant and proceed with the process. The final vote will come in August or September.
So there's no binding.
No binding at this point.
Commissioner Waltz, any? Okay, Commissioner Bender, Commissioner Dahlstrom, any comments, concerns, reference D9?
The
the language of the resolution seems to suggest that we are pursuing obtaining this. Like, I'm not really comfortable that this vote is merely a move it forward vote based upon the language of that resolution. I'm sorry, it's hard to juggle the screens here to look at both things at the same time.
We have double checked, triple checked with the National Fitness Campaign that until this is moving forward, but until you actually vote to purchase the equipment, you're not, we can back out. So right now we're saying we intend to do that. That's our good faith intention, but you'll have to take another vote to actually spend the money to buy the equipment. If you choose not to do it at that time, you would forfeit the grant, the project would die.
Back out with no penalty?
Correct. Now, I don't know, like with the OSLA grant program, if you back out after you've been awarded it, you are put on a list where you're not qualified for it again. I don't know if that's the same with the National Fitness Campaign. With that said, staff is not very concerned with that because I think if we make the decision not to move forward, we're probably not going to change that direction in the
Mr.
future.
Bender, does that address your question, or are you still have some concerns?
So Brett, also, she did say that we could alter the resolution of adoption to meet our need if the board chose to, if there was a particular phrase you want struck from that or something.
Are you guys back with me? I'm sorry, I'm in a 2-star hotel without great internet access, and it chose now to cut out. Fortunately, I caught the rest of the meeting. I mean, when it says like be it resolved, we will collaborate with them to join. Not may collaborate, but will collaborate.
I think we can change the word for them. Yeah. In her email, she states that it's a non-binding resolution showing intent to accept conditional grant award and work towards a partnership. You can edit as it meets the need of your board.
So change the rule. Yeah. So then who made the motion?
There has not been a motion made yet.
So it's the resolution.
Okay.
And I think the other phrase was endeavor to provide.
Counselor, so make a motion with the changes that we have discussed
Yes, so it's not as presented by staff, it's as amended.
as amended. Okay. Brett, are you good with,
Oh.
Brett has left us.
I didn't leave you. I just was hoping that with the video gone, I'm not going to have as many bandwidth problems. So are we going to say make a motion with the amendment to that word?
Correct.
All right.
So,
Yeah.
Commissioners, I'm asking for a motion for action item number D9, approval of resolution 25-03, resolution to allocate funds for outdoor fitness court at McClellan Park as amended.
Motion to approve resolution 2503 as amended.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh? Aye. Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Mr. Lund?
Aye. That closes the action items on our agenda. We can now go to E, board business. At this time, I would like to yield my time of president comments to Derek, our in-house counselor, or if you would like to address any of the issues that came up tonight at all, or?
Sure. Although she's left. At no time has the Downers Grove Park District ever banned anybody from speaking based on content or anything like that. All the Downers Grove Park District has done over the course of it is respond to concerns of the community about how space is allocated and used. There's not enough to go around. It's a limited finite resource. So take the concerts in the park, that was the subject of her story. One of the things that led to the 3 speech zones was that other members of the community who were gathering for the programming to listen to music did not appreciate people coming up and proselytizing to families while they were there to enjoy the concert. People had used imagery of people burning in hell. These kinds of images were shared with people who were there with their families and their kids, and they didn't appreciate it, and they want this. And so rather than ban that, because we can't, based on content, we said the place for those kinds of activities is out here. Same thing with some political campaigning. People want to go and enjoy the concert, and then there were people passing out campaign literature for their positions. And we didn't say, no, you can't do it. We said the place to do that is here. And those kinds of time, place, manner restrictions have been well recognized and understood. Then came the first Trump administration, and there were multiple requests and demands to have protests and assemblies in the parks, some of which competed with each other and then competed with the program. So to try and sort that out, we went to 15 people or more in permitting, tried to arrange things with the village because we've got to coordinate traffic, for the community so that everybody is safe in terms of the number of vehicles, showing up, parking, and all the rest. So at no time has anybody ever been banned from speaking in a park. But as we worked our way through the language, there always is an opportunity to improve upon it. And we've said that to fire and as from the beginning, which is we're always willing to consider changes to improve things. And as things are now, the result of the community was not so much people walking through the concert anymore or doing those kinds of things. It's more or less become just don't interrupt the program. So there is, President Lunt is aware of it. I don't know if the rest of you are so much, but there is a activity called Teen Takeover, for example, that is sweeping the suburbs. People on social media create an event. Oh, let's all gather at Fishel Park during the concert and we'll take it over as teens and we'll make noise and we'll rubber engines and we'll do all these other kinds of things. And that's a First Amendment protected right of association to do that. What you can do is try to control, though, the negative deleterious effects that happen. That's a time, place, and manner, but we're not banning the teens getting together. If you want to enjoy a concert, you can't have that at the same time you have a teen takeover. So we have to allocate this resource that you steward. And that's what the policy has done. And I'm grateful for the work of the board and Eric in particular on staff to make this better for the community's needs now. Downers Grove is not the same as other communities. They do things differently. The fact remains that we're not doing it on content. We're not ever saying no. We're simply allocating the time and places where these kinds of activities can happen at the same time as other programs. You don't get to go out in the middle of a Little League game, stand on the pitcher's mound and wave your flag, whatever flag it is you want to wave, because you have First Amendment rights. You don't get to walk out in the middle of an intersection and shut down the street either. Those kinds of time, place, manner restrictions are never. That's topic one. As for topic two, Ms. Hoas is asking you to ignore the law. And you took an oath not to do that. You took an oath to uphold the law. The law is crystal and clear in Illinois, under the Illinois Department of Human Rights, and under the Human Rights Act. People get to use the locker room for the gender which they identify. That's it. Period. End of story. And she's also wrong about the federal law. President Trump's order has no legal effect in the Downers Grove Park District. You're not taking any federal money. So the only power that order has is over the federal purse strings, and you don't have it. All you would do is lose your grant if you had one. Because the Illinois and the Illinois Constitution govern what happens within the borders of the state of Illinois, and that the rights of the people who identify differently than their sex at birth are protected here. You swore an oath to uphold that. And my advice will never differ from telling you what your obligation is under the Constitution and the statutes that have created this district to begin with. So she's just wrong about that. And that's all I can say about that.
Thank you, Counselor. Since I've yielded my time, commissioners, do you have any comments? Commissioner Dahlstrom, Commissioner Bender, do you have any comments?
None at this time.
Thank you, sir. E is now Item E has now been completed. We go on to item F on our agenda. Executive Director, Mr. McAdam, do you have anything?
Other than what was contained with the Deputy Director's report, I have nothing else to add, but happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and I believe that, you know, if the commissioners have any questions concerning the reports that were submitted by staff, we can.
So I was going to present one thing from the Deputy Director's report, and then if there's any questions from the board, they can provide them to any staff here. The one item I wanted to point out to the board is the DuPage Pads operation. This is their housing center up by Butterfield. And Dawn Hartman and I went up and met with their executive director and a few of their staff members to start getting a little more active with that segment of our population. And they shared some of their needs and desires with us. We talked to them about some of what we can provide. They house about 300 individuals there, 100 of which are children. Only about 25% have transportation options for leaving the facility. And they themselves only have about an 8 to 10 person van. So what Dawn and I talked with them about was multi-factor. So to start over the summer, we wanted to see what could we get to them as soon as possible. And we decided the best bet there was get them some splash down passes, get them some open gym passes, maybe for the adults to get a little bit of exercise, and give them some mini golf passes. So we'll be donating and providing those to the members that want that, the residents that want that at DuPage Pads. In addition, Dawn's staff in marketing and community development are going to host a couple opportunities out there hopefully this summer where there can be some arts and crafts, kind of like our party in the parks where we do some little activities with the kids, have a fun time, maybe have a craft table or something like that so that they can get a little more involved. We are going to donate all of the wonderful Halloween costumes that came to us last year that they can use both for Halloween upcoming and for dress up. And then Michelle is going to start working with Dawn and I. She's going to brainstorm with her team on some ideas for the fall and next year of some actual recreation opportunities we can program for this community, whether it be on site for them, whether we transport them over to us, or maybe even recreation in the box, which we did successfully during the pandemic. That then could be brought to them and they could do it right there in their living rooms in the facility. The final thing is they did tell us that they always appreciate books, puzzles, games. The children there spend a lot of time indoors, and that's always a great opportunity to help provide them some stimulating activity. So we are going to arrange some point in the coming months where we can kind of do a donation drive, very similar to what we did with the Halloween costume, that, you know, new and gently used games, books, and opportunities can be donated and we can provide them to that PAX organization. So I just really wanted to mention that to the board to keep them updated on that opportunity. And Dawn and I and Michelle will be moving forward with it, and we'll keep the board updated as we approach new opportunities.
Awesome. Eric and Dawn, great job reaching out. That's a good cause and bringing Parks and Recs to people that really need it. So thank you. Be commended for that. So F1, F2 are completed on the agenda. And like I said before, commissioners, if you have any questions, Commissioner Dahlstrom is the board treasurer. John, do you have any comments or concerns about F9, which is the finance report?
I do not, at this time.
All right, Commissioner Bender, any questions, concerns about the reports? With that, we'll close item number F on the agenda. Item number G, unfinished business, G1, Mr. McAdam or Mr. Brown, which one?
Eric handles this one.
So I've been working with Sean here for about 11 years. Sean's our representative from Progressive. He's been our trusted source of all energy needs, whether it be natural gas, electricity, solar power, whatnot. Some of you board members have heard a recent discussion with him about solar panels that we're going to hold off on with regarding right now. However, we have this other interesting opportunity that really goes towards our green initiative along with our financial savings. Whereas 50% of our electricity right now goes through a community solar garden, basically. And that's where we get 20% discount on solar energy that's coming into our electricity. And what Sean is here tonight to talk about is enrolling the other 50% of our properties in a similar program. So I'll let them get into the details.
Sean, how are you? Could you do me a favor? Make sure you state your name and company for the record.
Yeah, Sean Ajazi, Vice President of Progressive Energy Group Business Solutions. Yeah, here tonight, Eric, thanks for the introduction. I was gonna let you just keep going, but thanks for deferring to me. As Eric said, since June of 2020, if you could go to the next slide, please. Since June of 2020, the Downers Grove Park District was one of the first governmental entities to really sign up for a community solar subscription program. It was a procurement option at the time that allowed us to bifurcate the accounts based on how and when the power was used, overall lowering the cost that the district paid under their deregulated electric supply, and provide an additional savings mechanism for the facilities that didn't use power as optimal as some of the larger facilities. Under that term, the district signed up with NextAmp, that with other park districts like Oswego, City of Aurora, and a few others, which provided a 20% savings versus the ComEd utility tariff rate. So what it did was had the district put those accounts back with the utility, and then they got a separate invoice from NextAmp with a 20% guaranteed savings. That contract was structured under the procurement law at the time that had a 3-year roll for a 15-year term. Since then, the laws have changed. One, the Park District Code has been changed to now allow for 20-year contracts, and the community solar developers now can put the charges on the ComEd utility side of the invoice. Can you go to the next slide here? So here's the facilities that are currently under community solar. So they're smaller by nature, power usage does fluctuate, but right now, NextAmp Community Solar, provides a good value at the 20% discount. Can you go to the next slide for me? Community solar is this. Fields are being built out west, far western suburbs, down south in the ComEd region. Power's getting put back onto the grid. You then can subscribe to that power and get a guaranteed savings of 100% on the utility side of the invoice, and then you pay a discounted power price. So right now you have 20% on those facilities. The new programs are designed anywhere between 5 to 10%. We're recommending 10%. So you're always cash flow ahead because you're always getting 100% of the value on the ComEd utility slide. So the power doesn't directly go on to the facilities. These are power back on the grid. Consider it like a Groupon for community solar subscription, but it does align with the sustainable piece. If you go to the next slide. So this kind of gives you the structure of what is community solar, how the billing works. As you can see here, this renewable community supply section is where the value comes in for the subscription allotment. And then you see here highlighted yellow, very small. They don't make it easy for me. Renewable community solar supply credit.
Get rid of
Try and
zoom in?
Yeah. It's also on your.
It's also in the packet.
Right.
So in this scenario, there was a $53.84 credit, of which a $48.46 charge then came back to the end user, the 10% delta for that savings. We go to the next slide.
Sure. Hope it doesn't blow up here.
That's all right.
Sorry, I gotta zoom out.
That's okay. So what now with the community solar, with the change for the Climate Equitable Jobs Act that happened in September of 2021, there's more fields that are being built. So now we have another opportunity to go back out, get community solar subscriptions for the remaining volumes, capture the 10% reduction. Right now, ComEd's price did increase in June from 6.9 cents to 10.2 cents. So everybody's house bill, when you get your new bills, prices are going to be a little bit higher. So now it's a really good time to get a value add on top of the prices increasing on the ComEd portion for the accounts that have the ability to save. We'll get you 10% savings off the ComEd rate. 100% of the community solar credits will apply on the ComEd invoices. So we'll also, look at structuring that differently, what we're used to with Tricia and Eric. And that would provide an additional $1,400 savings back to the district. So we could apply that for other programs. Participation is really competitive. There's a lot of interest to get this program because of the cost going up and the savings portion coming down. As you can see, it's gone down 10% in 5 years. We envision probably it's going to be ended up around 5%, but we're not sure how the market's going to shake out.
So we're recommending to come back and get a board approval for a community solar subscription on the remaining volume with a developer at the time. We're still finalizing which developer. We have US Solar kind of outlined on the next slide as one of the developers, as well as Soltage and MC Square. But what we'd like to do is just have the board make a recommendation for the board to move forward with a community solar subscription allocation, and then get the contract over to the district's attorney for review.
So two things to quickly address in this. So you're assuming about a $14,000 savings a year for us.
Yes.
That can go towards other needs, including the increased cost that we have for combat. The second part is it is a 20-year contract, but I believe you can get out of it if you chose. I don't know why you would, but if you chose to, you could.
Yeah, there is provisions in there where you can provide a 180-day notice of the contract to exit. And then there's also provisions that the developer has 60 to 90 days to find a suitable entity to take over the subscription allocation. So there are, and then Progressive has contractual rights as well with the developer to find a replacement, because we do have many different customers in the combat service territory. But the program hasn't worked out very well outside of the first billing with Tricia, as we know. But that was just because it was new and we wanted to make sure everything was right. So we had to audit and stay on top of it, so.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you, Eric, for shedding some light on this issue. So are you looking for the board to just make a recommendation to move forward?
At this point, if the board is supportive of this, we would put it on the July meeting for vote.
Vote on the contract. Commissioner Walsh, any questions?
I have no question.
Commissioner Johnson, any questions? No. Commissioner Dahlstrom, any questions, concerns, comments?
Yes, I have one. Has Attorney Price reviewed the contract for Progressive, from Progressive?
Not at this point, but he would get it before we bring it to the board.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bender?
No questions.
No questions. I would then make a recommendation. I'm in favor of this. Good job. I think that green energy and looks like the direction of the savings is there. So I make a recommendation to go through with it. Commissioner Walsh?
I agree.
Commissioner Johnson? Commissioner Bender, would you go ahead and move forward?
Sure.
Commissioner Dahlstrom?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm supportive.
I'll have Sean
Thank you,
send
sir.
us the contract and get it to Dirk for review.
Thank you, sir. Item number H1, new business, cell tower lease at Gilbert Park. Mr. McAdam or Mr. Brown, which?
Yes, the Park District has a number of cell phone towers in their parks. Longstanding agreements. From time to time, these come up for review, and Kevin manages those contracts for us. So I'm going to turn it over to Kevin. I asked him to give a little background of the tower, and then what we're looking to propose to bring to you in a subsequent meeting for a new contract.
Thank you. So as Bill mentioned, we have two cell phone towers, and then we have a land lease as well, right next to the water tower at McCollum Park. We have the flagpole at Hummer Park and Gilbert Park. There's a small tower right behind all the trees and everything right up front there on the by the west parking lot. So typically most of these have been in place since like 2006, and they're all starting to come due now after 20, 25 years. Most the current lease at Gilbert Park comes due on September 30th of 2028. The April 10th, SBA Communications had contacted us, to introduce. There's a new agent there, and they called us there to basically introduce, and then they wanted to renew the lease basically. So after negotiations, we came up, they initially wanted to do a 30-year lease, and then they came down to 25-year lease, and with a 20% increase in rent, $10,000 signing bonus, and a 4% annual rent increase on this. So obviously, we took this back to Ansel Blink, Adam Simon at Ansel Blink, and I had him look everything over. And he seemed to think this was a pretty good deal to move forward on. So that's why we're bringing this forward to you as of right now. This is just a discussion, and then we'll bring the contract forward in the July meeting.
So I've been working with the Parks Department here for 11 years, and then probably about 5 years at my previous employer with tower rents. And I would say probably 95% of them, when they want to renew, you're not getting good terms, or they're trying to buy the lease from you and give you an upfront price. And they think that, okay, hey, a local government might need that money now for our capital projects, so we'll just buy it kind of cheap. This was the first time, and Kevin, what I would say in the last couple of years, we've had about 6 conversations that were just bad.
Yeah, at least.
And dozens in the last decade. But this was the first time that it was good enough to pass our test, along with Adam Simon from Ansel Blink, who has a lot of experience and sees a lot of these agreements all over. And he even said that this was a good agreement and that it was a fair price. So I just wanted to add that before the board begins their discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Anything else to add, Kevin?
No, like I said, I think after the several discussions in the past, this was probably the best discussion we had and the outcome that we had. So that's what we're bringing forward. And, you know, on top of that, there's typically, once they get down to a certain length of their contract left, they want to renew it because then they can, you know, hopefully gain more companies on their tower. So, so that's one of the big things as well.
Commissioner Walsh, any questions, comments, or concerns?
No questions, but well done.
Commissioner Johnson?
So the McCollum Park is currently Sprint, so that would move to SBA, is that right?
No, so that's a separate land lease that we have as well.
Okay.
So there's, that is, it was Sprint, they merged, Sprint and T-Mobile merged, and now it's T-Mobile.
Okay.
And they just have a 10 by 10 piece of land at McCollum Park next to the water tower that they lease from us.
And that's a different price then?
Yes.
Okay. That's about $1,000. That's a cooling unit, basically.
The antennas are on the water tower.
Because the antennas are on the water tower. So we've talked with the village about that, and they're doing more of the negotiations, because that's coming due in a few years too.
So the antennas are on the water tower, but they need to have, for all their equipment, it has to be on the ground with an air conditioner. And so that building's actually on our property. So the village gets the tower portion, the antennas, and then we get the building. It's kind of confusing.
So we're just asking for discussion for the Gilbert Park cell tower site at this moment.
Oh,
Commissioner Dahlstrom, do you have any questions or concerns?
I do not. I'm supportive.
Commissioner Bender?
I am also supportive.
I am supportive, but I do have a caveat. I usually drive a Chrysler, but anyway, I do have a caveat. And that is that I don't like tying the hands of future boards on long leases. There are exceptions to the rules, of course, but I'm, go ahead, you're gonna say something.
We have 5-year up clauses on this.
Okay,
Either side can get out every 5 years.
was that in the memo?
That's not in the memo, that'll be in the contract once we bring that all back to you.
Okay, with that, then I'm supportive, so. Yeah, good work. I believe that's it for item number H1 under new business. Item number I, the next Downers Grove Park District Board meeting will be held on July 17th, 2025 at the Recreation Center multi-purpose room. And at this point in time, I'd like to entertain a motion. We do have executive session. Do we not, Mr.?
We do,
Okay.
under 5 ILCS 120, /2C1 of the open meeting.
This point in time, are we gonna come back and adjourn?
We will, we also, second item is under 5 ILCS 122C21 of the Open Meeting Act, which is reviewing prior meeting minutes.
Understood. So, item number J, we need a motion to adjourn into closed session and then reconvene after the closed session for the conclusion of today's meeting.
Motion to adjourn to closed session and then after the closed session reconvene for the remainder of the meeting.
Is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh? Aye. Mr. Bender?
Hi.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
And Mr. Lund?
Aye. We're in adjournment into closed session.